Hello everybody, and thank you for joining. This is Module 2 of the DaVinci Resolve 17 for Educators training module. I'm super happy you're here and excited to get into this next lesson. But before we do, let's go ahead and review what we're going to cover in this video. In this video, we'll be covering tools and functions, recording and importing your 3 to 5 minute presentation, and cropping mistakes and transitions. So without any further ado, let's get straight into editing. Okay, so let's do a quick review of what we learned in Module 1. So again, we're going to bring up our file. We're going to drag and drop into the media pool. You can go ahead and close this out or minimize. Then you're going to drag and drop your media into the timeline. Perfect. So if you'd like, you can go ahead and close the media pool if that's easier for you to view, or you can go ahead and leave it open if you'd like to. I'll go ahead and close it. Again, you can just close it and open it by clicking where it says media pool up here on the top left-hand corner. So the edit page, what are all these buttons here? There's so many of them. What do they mean? This will be your rewind button or your go to fast frame. This is your reverse. This is your stop. This is your play. This is your go to last frame, which is like the end of the video. And this is your loop. The main ones we'll be focusing on is your play and stop. Now right under that, there's a list of more tools. This cursor is your selection mode. This is what you're going to use to kind of tell the cursor where to go and where you want to be in your project, what parts you want to work on. We can go ahead and ignore these two, but the next one is going to be another very important tool. This is your blade edit mode, your razor blade or blade. You can click it, and this will allow you to add cuts in your timeline just like this. And also, if you want to get to your blade tool quicker, you can go ahead and press B, and that'll get you to your blade tool relatively quickly. If you're using shortcuts, it will be a little bit faster and more efficient, but if not, that's completely fine. Another shortcut you can use, like let's say you see this red line right here, this is the part of your project that you're working on. So let's say I want to add a cut right here. I want to switch to my blade tool and add a cut. You can do Control or Command B. What this will do is it'll cut your project right here. And again, let's say I want to do another cut, but I don't want to do it here. You can push B and it'll switch to your blade tool, then you can move around. Like I said, this isn't mandatory. If you'd rather click on the different tools, you can go ahead and do that as well. Now let's say I added a cut here. I don't want to cut there no more, but that was the last action I did. You can undo that by pressing Control or Command Z, just like that. By now you should have your video filmed on your recording device. Now how you get your videos into DaVinci Resolve, you can either do it via Bluetooth. If you have a Mac and you're filming on an iPhone, I know you can upload it pretty quickly. But if you're like me and you have Windows, you'll have to use something like this, which is like an SD card reader. Oh, we heard it disconnect. But yeah, you just put your SD card into the reader, plug it into your computer, and then you can upload your files just like that. When filming, some best practices I want to cover is you want to make sure that your face is nice and lit, everything is clear, and your students or audience can see clearly what you're presenting and what you're saying. There's two different kinds of colors right here in the timeline. You have your blue color and your green color down here. The blue color is going to be just your video. The green color is going to be just your audio. These signs down here, the S and the M, so you can solo your audio. So if you want to just hear one track, you have multiple audio tracks, and you can also mute it. So if you just want to see the video and you want to add like music over it and you don't want to hear your voice, you can do that in certain cases. And also you can add as much media as you'd like into the timeline, just like if you want to do a repeat. There you go, I went ahead and added more of, or the same video again. And go ahead and close the media pool. To remove a track, you can go ahead and highlight it and press backspace. Now, let's say I want to edit fine details. This is kind of hard to edit everything right here. This tool right here is your zoom tool. You can do it by using this slider to get really close in. As you see, I'm like thinking about stuff right here. You can definitely go ahead and edit all that out, and this gives you a more precise cut. You can also click these buttons if you want to if you're not working on something too precise, if you want to just get something a little bit quick. But you can also use this slider, like I said, to get more precise with your cutting. So that leads us to our next topic. We're going to be looking for stuff to cut. Like, what should I cut out in my presentation? You should cut out long pauses, a cough, a sneeze, something where you're being interrupted that might distract or get in the way of your presentation from being nice and seamless. Just like I said, in this part of my presentation, there's a lot of silence. So we'll go ahead and crop that out of around 20 to 24 frets. See, I'm like thinking of what I'm gonna say next, and that might distract somebody or lose someone's attention. So what we can do is go ahead and get our blade tool. You can press B or click the blade tool. Right where you see the audio file kind of dip down right here, you can go ahead and click, and that adds a cut. Right before I start speaking, you can kind of guess it out. Click, add a cut. Now what you can do is click on a gray space up here, drag down and highlight, press backspace, and that gets rid of your cut. But now you're left with this right here, this empty space. And when you play the video, 24 frets. It kind of just cuts to black. Like I said, we want this to be a smooth transition. So what you can do is click on the space and press backspace, and that'll kind of snap it to the grid. In some cases, what you can also do is highlight the other section. Make sure you have your selection mode if you're going to do this, and just drag it over. Now you see how it kind of like clicks into place, it snaps into place. You see I can go over, but it snaps in. What's allowing it to do that snap in right there is this little icon that looks like a magnet. It's called your snapping tool. If you turn that off, you can get really precise with where you want it to cut off. But like I said, for this, we can go ahead and leave the snap tool on. You can either drag it over like that and it'll snap into place, or you can click the space and push backspace. Now we'll go ahead and check that transition. 24 frets. Okay, moving down, we'll turn the guitar backward. So that seemed seamless. It seems like I took out all that space where I wasn't talking, and it makes the video just include what's necessary. There's no distractions or something that may stray the attention away from your viewer or student. So you go ahead and repeat this throughout the whole timeline in your video. Like I can see right here, a good way to look is for audio files. Like when they dip out, I'm probably just looking around. See, like you don't want this part in your final presentation. So what you can do is you're gonna go ahead and zoom in. You're gonna get your blade tool. I think right here was the so I'm just gonna go ahead and clip right after right there. Clip right before I come in to talk again. You can see in the audio files, you see where it goes from like a straight line to a talking line, or you see more like the actual waves. You can go ahead and highlight, delete the part or the space that you don't want, and backspace, and that'll close the gap. So go ahead and make sure that the transition is smooth. Tuning pegs. This is gonna be the fretboard. Now, okay, so that transition was smooth. So I found a great example of where you should edit something out. So right here, as you can see, I'm gonna play the video. Guitar strap. A cough. That could be distracting and would make just no sense for that to be there. So what you can do is go ahead and, like I said, get your blade tool, add it right where you finish talking, look for where you come back in, cut right before, highlight, backspace, click on the blank space, and backspace. Now you took out that cough, and again, we always want to make sure that our transition was smooth. Guitar strap. So those are all the parts. There you go, just like that. So something really cool about DaVinci Resolve is you can adjust the thickness of everything. Let's say this is kind of too thin. I want to see more of the timeline, have more space. You can go ahead and click here to make the timeline bigger. In return, that will make your video smaller. However, you can go ahead and make your video bigger down here in the timeline, your audio bigger, smaller if you're done working with it. But you can go ahead and adjust this to whatever makes you feel comfortable. Go ahead and mess with the program and get more comfortable with it. You won't break it, you know? So just familiarize yourself with all the tools and go ahead and edit your video, like I said. Go ahead and cut out the information that may seem distracting or unnecessary to your goal. So that concludes Module 2. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you learned something new. And please join me next time for Module 3, where we'll cover how to adjust audio levels and introduce overlays into your video presentation. For now, go ahead and work on the cuts. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. And I'll see you next time.